Hi, I'm Timo.
Hey everybody, I'm Timo and today I'm going to explain to you Dart. And Dart comes with her mat, of course, and 2 chips because it's not only Dart but she's got a companion. It's called Board, the Picadillo, and of course a set of her own unique dice and her character sheet, and also another sheet. But don't worry, it's not as hard as it might look with the second sheet here. But I, just like with the Rat Labs, to get this straight first, I would not recommend starting with Dart if it's your first game of Too Many Bones. So then I would go for Patches, Picket, maybe even Boomer, or if you only got Undertow, I'd say use Duster. But if you're familiar with the game and played a round or two, then do check out Dart, since she's incredible and lots of fun to play, and also, well, tactically challenging, I'd say. Now, let's start. As you can see, she's a ranged character and starting only with 2 health, so gotta be bit careful, but she got her companion, as I already mentioned, the Picadillo here, called Board, and that's also her innate. So you already start with Board skill dice, and before battle starts you would roll it, and then depending on the number, 1, 2, 3, Board will get health, and you can choose whether to put him in a Gearloc melee position or underneath Dart. Now, both have advantages and disadvantages. If you do it like that, of course, Board can be targeted by the enemies, by the baddies, so not to get any damage here with Dart, because if Dart's out, then KO'd, then Board's also gone, but obviously not the other way around. So if Board gets KO'd, no problem fighting on for Dart. So Board might take damage off, or now we only have ranged baddies, but if there were any melee baddies, Board could block them. And since he's half mech, he is not affected by poison. I'll look it up not to forget anything. It's not affected by poison, weaken, terrify, stun, bleed, and fatigue. So only by by damage, of course. And you could do it like that, or so Board doesn't come with any attack dice, so all Board can do is blocking and taking damage. Okay, but it can always move up to 2 spots on Dart's turn. But if Board moves through the position of Dart, Dart will immediately mount Board, or maybe you already start like this. And now this has the advantage that, not so much if you play solo, but if you play with other Gearlocs also, that now the combined value counts for who's the strongest and who's the weakest. So let's say here's another Gearloc, but you rather want a Dart to be targeted by somebody, then you can do it like this, and now she's got a strength of 4, which might be more than the other Gearloc, so now she's the target of certain baddies here. If she gets targeted, then she might choose whether she will take the damage or Board will. So let's say this baddie here would roll attack dice against her. 2 which would KO her, so then I'd rather say, let's give it to board. Another nice thing is, let's say board had only one left, and now this would be extremely powerful, giving 4 damage. Then you could say it goes to board, and then only board is KO'd, and the rest of the damage does not carry over. So this is really good to protect her. Once mounted, you can use Dart's Dex for movement to move off board. That is totally possible, and sometimes it does make sense. Okay, so this is board. Once rolled, you put it in a locked slot here, and once board is KO'd, it just goes to the exhausted dice. So there's one possibility to bring board back into play once he's KO'd, but not by just rolling the die again. But I'll come to that later. Yeah, so let's talk about the skills of Dart. And I already talked about the innate skill here, which is board. Then she's got Rejuvium, which she may roll, and then place it on any companion. And this dice got 2 sides. This is the usual one. It just means the next time this unit is attacked, no damage is applied and also no effects. So if board now got attacked, I would just exhaust this die and board wouldn't get any damage and also no effects. Now board usually doesn't get that many effects, but it might be useful for other companions. And if you roll this side, the same thing happens, but the affected unit also heals for 2. Then we've got Stolen Tech, and this is about regaining exhausted dice. So if you roll a yellow number, then you might unexhaust 1 attack die. Now why would you having to unexhaust attack dice? I'll come to that in a bit. And there are also blue numbers, and with that you can unexhaust any die from any Gearloc. So let's say you exhausted this die, then you can unexhaust it. Or you could say, well, your other Gearloc might unexhaust any. And if there are 2 numbers, of course, you can unexhaust 1 attack die and 1 skill die. And last in this profession of bioweapons is the Deliriant, and this is all bones, so you just put it in the backup plan, but it has a specialty to it if you're in the dangerous darts mode. I'll come to that in a bit, so for now I'll just leave it there. Now all other professions of darts are called agents, or not the professions but the dice. So this is an agent and this is an agent. Now what's up with the agents? Dart is only allowed to roll 1 attack die against each baddie. So if, let's say Dart has 2 attack dice now, she may not roll it against this baddie here, but only 1 against this baddie, dealing 1 damage, and then 1 against, let's say, this baddie. Okay, and then maybe dealing damage there. And she may also, so she's throwing these darts, she may also roll any agents together with that. So she might take this one and say, I'll use it on this baddie, and then she rolls them together, dealing 2 damage first, 1, 2, and then putting this agent here. And this agent will affect this unit when it's this unit's next turn. Now there might be an a maximum of 3 agents on any unit. So with some agents, you might want to affect your other Gearlocs, your party members, or maybe your companion. And some you might want to add to your to the baddies. Now the thing is, since she's throwing dice, it's the same thing as with Boomer and her grenades or bombs. You have to use them. So let's say I rolled this. Now I have to apply the damage and cannot say, no, I don't want that. And I also have to use them against this baddie and put them here. It's not like with other skills that you can say, I'd rather want to roll for something better, so let's just put it back. That's not possible. You have to use it. Also, if you roll bones, you have to put it in your backup plan, or you have to put it as an agent on the unit. But you cannot say, I'd rather not use it now. And this totally makes sense, since you're throwing your darts, and you cannot just go there and take your dart back, can you? So that's it. Now, why would you put a bone on an enemy? So here, in this case, you would not want to do that, but rather put it in your backup plan, because this would trigger on its turn, and it says weaken 2 for bones. So it's got a backup plan, and if you had it here on its turn, it would weaken you for 2, so you would not want that. Here, you would definitely want to have a bone, because it's got careless, meaning it's damaging itself on its turn, so you want that. And here, it's got no effect for the bones. But still, it might be useful to have a bone there, because on its turn, all effects will trigger. I'll talk about the effects later. All effects of the agents will trigger, and then you have to remove one of them. So let's say I take the bones. It's exhausted. And on this unit's next turn, all remaining agents will trigger. And then you take one. Well, this doesn't make much sense, but just to show you, you take one and exhaust it, and on its next turn the remaining dice will trigger until none is left. And now I could shoot some agents again at this unit if I wanted to, because I'm below the maximum of 3. So even here the bones could make sense, because if I remove them in that turn, the other dice would stay around longer. So here it could also make sense to do that. As I said, agents always have to be accompanied by one attack die. So the agents might have good effects, like this one, Bakito. It grants you every round that this is on you, or on whatever unit, it grants you 1 bones. So let's say I put it on myself, and then it's my turn, and then I could stack just 1 bone here from the pool of attack or death dice. Same is true for other Gearlocs. In this case, I might even put 2 bones there. And if there's a bone, I would also stack a bone in here. The problem being, I can only put that on anybody together with an attack die. So in this case, I'd have to attack myself. Or let's say I play with Boomer, she might be here, and I want her to gain some bones. Then I also had to roll an attack die. And remember, you have to use it. You cannot say, I'd rather not have her hurt. You have to use it. So that's kind of the thing here, that you might hurt your buddies or yourself even, but sometimes it's worth it, and maybe you have enough shields that you won't get hurt. So as I already said, Bakitol gives you bones. Then you have the stimulant, and the stimulant doesn't give you anything, but a nice effect. So let's say you had this and you sacrificed 1 health for that, or shield, because you threw the attack die. And now it's your turn and you get the 2 bones here, stacking them in your backup plan. I'll do that like this. And now you had to remove 1 die, as usual. But with stimulant, if you rolled a 2, you can just tick it down by 1. And then next turn, if it's on 1, you have to remove it. So it gives you 1 extra turn for the other agents, because if you only have that, it doesn't give you anything, but here it would make sense to keep it longer. Even on the baddies, if you hurt them, and then you can just tick it down to leave the other dice there longer. Then you have the retroactizer. The retroactizer. And with the retroactizer, you force baddies to roll again. Let's say it's there and this baddie rolls pretty badly, like a 2, you don't want that, then you can say, please roll again. And you can do it once or even twice. And then you have the roids, and this if applied to a baddie, or it can even be applied to, well, actually any unit, other Gearlocs as well. It will cause the unit to deal 1 or 2 damage to an adjacent unit. So without rolling any dice, it's not true damage, but you deal damage to an adjacent unit. And then you have the Numbcore. I already had it here. This is just this one side here, and it means that the standard movement of the baddie is reduced by 1. So let's say this was a melee baddie. It would try to move over here, and if it had this agent, it could not move its regular 2 steps, but only 1, and could not attack if it was a melee baddie. This one, of course, will shoot. Then you have Confusitoll, and this causes that the attack stat of that baddie is reduced by this number. So now it would only throw 1 attack die or none at all. And the preferred target is not the weakest anymore, but the strongest unit. Here it's already the strongest, but in these cases the preferred target would change to the strongest, and it would only be able to throw 1 or 2 less attack dice. Then you have Move a Wound, which should really be Move a Wound, because if the unit here moves around, then it takes true damage. So if this unit doesn't make sense here, since they're all ranged baddies, but if, let's say again, this was a melee baddie and it would move during its turn, then it would lose 1 health, because it's 1 true damage, or even 2. And this is a nice combination with this guy here. It makes you move, it makes Dart move a baddie up to 2 spaces. So if you had this, you can say, well, it's his turn, the agent's trigger, I'll move him 2 spots, or maybe only 1, and it will receive 2 true damage for that. And then you remove 1 and keep 1, whatever you like, and next time it's his turn again, you would remove, or they would trigger again. Okay, then you have Tetanus, placed on a baddie. When it's his turn, it will get 1 true damage. This is disable. You know that from other Gearlocs, like Tantrum, for example. A baddie, a 5-point or less baddie, so 5, 3, or 1, is disabled, meaning it cannot use its powers, its skills anymore. But here it's not until the end of combat, but until this thing is removed. It doesn't have any skills. And this one is called Mono, and it's basically the same as a stun. A 5-point or less baddie loses its turn, but negative effects still apply. So let's say it was poisoned here, then the poison would still work, but it's losing its turn otherwise. So it cannot do anything as long as this thing is here. So if you have like this, you have to remove one, and you can choose one, and as long as this is here, it will trigger every round, making this unit losing its turn. But it has to be removed immediately as soon as this unit takes any damage. So it's sleeping somehow, and the poison, it wouldn't mind. It would, and but it's still triggering. And or if you do damage otherwise, this is just removed, waking up, sensing that it got poisoned, or that it's got a tetanus here, or that you just attacked it, of course. And the last die here is this one, the consumable, and as soon as you acquire it, you just roll it and put it in your locked slot, and it's got numbers between 1 and 3 on it. Have to be really lucky if you roll a 1 or 3. And this just means you can exhaust it at any time during the battle, and it means that you can add so many attack dice during an attack. So usually, as I said, you can only roll 1 attack die when attacking, but if I exhausted this one, I could roll 3 attack dice against a baddie, and those 2 extra do not cost any dex and do not cost any attack dice from my stat. This is no counter, so I cannot say I just tick it down 1 using 1. I have to use them all and just exhaust it. I don't know if I already mentioned it, but there was the thing with the unexhausting attack dice. So if you just attack here, dealing damage, then you get this die back, no problem at all. But as soon as you use any agents with it and roll it, and you deal damage, then they are exhausted. And as you can see, Dart starts only with 2 attack dice, so you might want to upgrade this, because if I threw another here against the baddie, then all my attack dice would be exhausted, and I would not be able to throw any more attack dice and thus agents until I got some back. The red dice here, the bioweapons, are thrown on their own, so not with any attack dice, so I could still do that and probably want to roll this now to get 1 back and unexhaust it. There's only another way to unexhaust dice, and that is by going dangerous, and I'll come to that in a second. Because first I want to tell you one more thing about the turn. First, so usually what you do is with another Gearloc, you would just choose the dice you want to roll, and you just pick them, and then you roll all of them. But in this case, you've got more than 1 target. So what you do is you would pick the dice that you want to throw. Let's say these here. Don't want these now. These 4. I've got a dex of 4. And then you would choose the first target, saying this guy here, the Goblin Bomber. And then you would choose the dice that you want to throw against it. Say these two. Don't have anything unexhausted there. And I would apply that to my target, and then I would choose the next target for this die, let's say this here. And then I would roll all other dice. It could be the red dice here. Let's say I had one more dex. I could choose to roll one of the bioweapons, and all death dice that I wanted to roll, I could do it now and then apply them accordingly. Or not, if I don't want. So with these I could always put them back, not using them, not exhausting them, opposite to the agents. Now this is how Dart works and Dart's skills. And now I'll talk about the backup plan, and then I'll come to this dangerous darts thing. And the backup plan, first up, is recover or danger zone. So with one bone I could recover 1 health point, so healing for 1, or never more than my health stat, of course. So right now I could not do that since I haven't lost any health yet. Then danger zone, I'll explain in a bit. Then biding time. Biding time means I'll add a bones. So if I use 2 bones for biding time, then I would not discard them, but rather put another bone here. This is useful here because if I go dangerous, I want to have as many bones here as possible. Then nothing happens for 4 bones, and for 5 you get a fortunate discovery, meaning that you get your consumable die here, which you would of course not put here, but just roll and put it in your locked slot. Now, last, what's up with the danger zone, with the going dangerous? It's on this here. It's also explained in detail very well, but I'll also explain to you. So let's say you had your dice here. This would be not too well, so I'll do it like this, just for showing you like that. So you could use 1 die, put it away, to go dangers, so the danger zone here. And in this case you would just flip the whole mat like that. You can put this down if you like that better. And now you're dangerous and you have to mount board. So board goes immediately under you, and if board was KO'd before, it doesn't matter, it will come back and be immediately beneath you. And of course you had to roll the die first to see how many health it will get. And as you can see with the dice here, the stat dice or board dice, they are the same no matter which side you have them on, so they stay the same. The other dice of course not, but that doesn't matter here. So now you're in the dangerous mode, and if you're here, then you can you go from 1 to 3 or maybe even to 5 and just throw them out here. And for every, for showing purposes, let's do it like that. You put them out, and then you may move up to 2 spaces and deal damage. So if you're adjacent to an enemy at the end of your movement, then you can deal 1 true damage. So it doesn't matter if there are any shields on here, you deal 1 true damage. For the next one, you can move again up to 2 spaces, but you may not deal damage to the same baddie. So I could move here and deal 1 true damage, taking him out. And then I could move again up to 2 spaces, and now I could damage this unit again with 1 true damage, or I could move over here and damage, deal damage here. Now I could also push them away. So let's say I'm here, then I could move 1, 2, and then deal true damage. Or I could be like 1, 2. Of course, I could not push this unit any further here. Also, if it's like that, I could not push this unit here, but still dealing true damage. And now this die here is special. If I discard this one, it counts as a bone, but it gives me 2 extra spots of movement. So now I could not move 2, but 4. I could say 1, 2, 3, for example, and dealing damage to this one. So this is for the backup plan, and when going dangerous, you get this extra movement. That is what this one is good for. And so besides moving around, dealing damage, pushing other units, and getting board back, there's one other big advantage here. As you can see now, the skills area corresponds to the spots on the battle mat. And wherever you end the movement, you can unexhaust that die. So let's say I ended my movement here, then you can see on the corresponding spot I already exhausted this die. Let's say it's over here. Then I could unexhaust it by putting it back. And maybe I wanted to end my next movement phase here, because now I could unexhaust die number 7. Well, in this case I could not, because it's still on this baddie here, but if I had it in my exhausted dice area, I could unexhaust it. Now if I don't, if I cannot unexhaust it because it's still on a baddie, or maybe I haven't unlocked it yet, or maybe it's still here, so if I end it here, then I could unexhaust an attack die. I could also choose to unexhaust an attack die if it would be possible to unexhaust that skill die. So in this case, I had a choice then, and whether to unexhaust an attack die or the skill die. And if it's not possible to unexhaust that skill die, then I can only unexhaust attack dice, which is really useful because I have more options when it's my turn again. And at the end of your dangerous dart phase, let's say you've used all these dice, or maybe you don't want to use that at all because you say, well, this is the excellent position to be in, and I don't have any more exhausted dice, or I don't want whatever. So you can always end this phase earlier. Then you would throw out all remaining dice and go back to normal, and then your turn would immediately end, but board will stay here, so you do not lose him again, and you can only go dangerous once each battle. So this is Dart. I hope my explanation didn't sound too discouraging, too complicated. I hope that you will give her a chance, because she's really awesome and fun to play. You somehow have to get the knack first, when to use which, and do I want more bones here to go dangerous, or do I rather choose other dice, or health would definitely be a good choice here, or more attack, that if you don't get exhausted, that or they do get exhausted when throwing agent with them, that you still have options. If your 2 attack dice are now exhausted, you're very limited. You can only throw these if you have any left, or maybe death dice, hoping to get bones here to go dangerous and get them back. So there are lots of things to consider, which makes it really interesting to play. Besides, isn't that just the coolest thing ever here? And you get bored. It was really awesome. So, get bored, but don't get bored, and check out darts. High five? High five? High five? High five? High five? Lucky Lux? Lucky Lux?